All right, let's wrap up tonight with our movie review, which is excuse me, to go along with our Easter theme month, or biblical epic months, and that is Samson and Delilah from 1949, directed by Cecil B. DeMille, starring was it Hedy Lamarr, ooh, tasty slice, Victor Mature, and Angela Lansbury, who we were talking about this before we started the stream, but yeah, Angela Lansbury back in the day, tasty slice.
Yeah.
Confirmed. Tasty slice confirmed. But here, let me rattle you off the synopsis for this movie. Samson, the hero of the Israelites, wins the hand of a Philistine woman, Semedar, in a contest of strength. When she is killed during a conflict on their wedding night, however, Samson becomes a hunted man whom the Philistines, including Semedar's sister, Delilah, want to punish. This becomes complicated, however, when Samson suddenly acquires God's given superpower. And Delilah's true feelings for Samson surface.
Okay. Well,
So where do we begin?
What I was gonna say is now this is no Ten Commandments, but it's still a really good movie, and I think this is also very fitting that this is coming after we watched it, only because this story, biblically happened after the period of the Exodus, and after the Israelites reached the and kind of set up the story of Samson. After the Exodus, this is, how we're left ended. Moses is not allowed into the promised land, and but it's Joshua and the descendants of the former Egyptian slaves are the ones that are allowed in. And God had commanded the Israelites to do very specific things to reach the land of Canaan, which was to be Israel. And almost immediately they fail.
Right.
It's just a matter of time. It's human nature. We fail. We do stupid stuff, and they didn't fully follow God's command. And while they did, they almost did. They almost did what they were supposed to do, but they didn't quite finish conquering the land. And because of that, it's kind of like the idol worship that we see in the Ten Commandments, golden calf. So, well, all that idol worship, is different gods, but the same thing kind of comes back to people who don't, back to the end. And that's where we get into the book of Judges. This, it deals with different tribes. Same type of problem where they give into idol worship, and because of that, God punishes them by captivity of the different other people that are left in Canaan or the surrounding areas. And like in the story of Iowa, it's the tribe of Dan, and they are subject to the Philistines. The Philistines, it's like 40 years. They're under a 40-year reign of Philistines. And Samson, he's a judge of what a judge is. Essentially, he was the kind of the leader and ruler, or
Right. He was sort of like a governor for his specific tribe.
Exactly.
And
And
so and because the Israelites were different in that they didn't have a king because God was supposed to be their king.
right, it was a theocratic kingdom where God was was the head, but he had people that were overseeing. Each tribe had their own overseer.
Right.
Uh, and but when you read about the judges, they're all very flawed in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of maybe Samuel, but Samuel had his own flaws, but not to the extent of most of these judges. And Samson is, I think, he's pretty bad. He's a womanizer, and
Right.
his,
He's a bit of a braggart. He's boastful.
yeah. Well, his birth is pretty spectacular in a lot of ways. A lot of these, good characters arrive. Their mothers were at one at one point unable to give birth. Then God rewards them with a child.
Right.
Uh,
The refrain of "He opens their wombs," is is quite common.
yeah, that happens in multiple characters, and and in this case, like there's the famous Nazarite vow that is uh, given by his mother, and that means that he's not to cut his. There's very strict observations that he has to do, like he can't cut his hair. He's supposed. I think he's supposed to be like free of like all these restrictions. Now Samson pretty much, you know, the only one I think he is in compliance of is he doesn't cut his hair.
Right. Yeah. 'Cause he doesn't live a chaste life. He doesn't abstain from drinking or gambling.
Yeah, he does all that stuff, but he doesn't cut his hair, and
Right.
yet because he keeps that one part of it is why I think God allows his
Yeah.
strength
God
isn't
blesses him. Yeah. God blesses him with the strength because he
like
still follows that one precept.
yeah, and the other thing too is that he's not only is he not uh, being chased or but he's not even going after women of Israelite women, which is at that point forbidden for the
Right.
Israelites. That changes later on. But that's essentially at that point there was a restriction for Israelites to marry other Israelites, not
Hmm.
to not to mix with foreign tribes or these foreign countries because of the lure of idolatry,
Hmm.
which is pretty much like it's never followed. Uh,
Right. Some might
and
even say even till today.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, now it's even more huge ever, but and that's where the story of Samson and Delilah is from. And now it's this one not as accurate as the technique, um, but it still does a pretty good job of following the story.
Yeah, they definitely created this in the
They took a little bit more liberties in a few
right,
cases.
right to tell like I don't was having Kid Saul in the story. I didn't even know if he would be alive or he was alive even around the time of Samson.
And well, he wasn't a Danite. He's from the tribe of Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's so he even if he was alive, he's not from that tribe. So
Mm-hmm.
that's so I don't know if it was just another person that was named Saul, but they
No,
definitely
because
allude.
right, they
They
did
definitely
allude
allude.
it because he was like, "Oh, one day you'll become king or something."
Yeah, it's that was like that does. I think they just need because I think the reason they do that in because that name is much more familiar than probably Stanton is. Now, quick side note about Samson is that the creators of Superman, uh, they were Jewish and they took inspiration off the strength of Samson to create
Mm-hmm. Right. I think the kind of the lore behind the creation of Superman was, two like these two Jewish men who who wanted to create this character, and like at the time, um, all the persecutions were happening in Europe, so they basically wanted to create a a proxy proxy Jewish like superhero.
Yeah, yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Uh, but let's so there's kind of the background of the story uh, to the movie Samson and Delilah. Like I said, the movie takes a few more liberties than let's say Ten Commandments did, but the Ten Commandments also noted of where it was taking some of its source material from, which is a lot of it was from uh, Philo, like which is a bit of a speculation, but even but it did follow the biblical side of it. Philo's it followed that pretty closely, and it wasn't just wild. It, I would say like pretty accurate to what was happening. This one I felt was a little bit more because the wording that was used why Cecil B. DeMille did this story is because he felt love stories were close. Like when I think of Samson and Delilah, I think yeah, it's it's just I don't see a love story. Now in the
Right.
movie,
No, yeah, I think,
a
and
great
that's what
love
I think. One of those, I think that's what that's where they took one of the liberties, because yeah, I've read the Tale of Samson and Delilah as well, and like it never was like it never felt like a love story. Um, where where Delilah was like this love crazed girl for Samson, and she was like she became spurned, and um, she
well,
wanted,
and I
and she wanted to get revenge, because of like the murder of the murder of her family.
well I think even if and I like I said it's been a while since I read the story, Samson and
Mm-hmm.
Delilah, the biblical story, but unlike the movie, Delilah and Seminar, they're not related. The biblical story, I don't think. And
Right.
uh, Delilah, she's not a, she's not like high standing family. She's a prostitute, and the reason that she's used by the Philistines is because they want revenge from the Philistines that he is condemned to kill. And so they use Delilah, and they know his weakness is for Philistine women, and Delilah is kind of the hot.
Yeah. What is it? Delilah's basically like she might be the first recorded honeypot.
I will say this: Samson wasn't simping because he got something. So
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Samson wasn't a simp. Let's get that straight. Samson wasn't a simp.
but the term still I think still works.
He still apply to Samson?
No, I'm saying it's like no, I think the term honeypot still works a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, no, for sure. 'Cause, yeah, she was just used to entrap him. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Whereas like in the movie, yeah, like there's like this kind of revenge love story sort of thing, and so she.
because she's pissed off that Samson didn't chose her older sister.
Right.
But even in that, she was like she still loves Samson in a way, and like she kept trying to like Tyson's like just get out of here.
Right. It was yeah, it's just like oh, come, and I think she was I think she was genuine when during that scene where she was seducing him. And said, "Oh, let's just run away to Egypt. They don't know who we are there. We can start a new life." I think I think she was being genuine, and she really. I think she was. She. I think as much as she was seducing him, I think she was falling back in love with him in that moment.
And here's the other thing too is like kind of for looking back, and I'm just talking about movies.
Right, right.
Is
That's what. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
so you kind of have like and this might be a Cecil B. DeMille staple, but in the story in uh, Moses, kind of has that love affair with Pharaoh's daughter, and despite everything that happened, she still loved him up until the point that you know her son was killed in the last
Right.
play. And it's kind of like the same thing that although Delilah hated
Well,
Sam up until the point where she was trying to, seduce him to sell him to the Philistines, yet in this case, her love is like she remembers why she loves him and tries to just like get them to sleep.
right. But I think it's a little. Well, it still could be a signature of Cecil B. DeMille, but this movie came out first, so he might have actually lifted that idea of the female pro antagonist, like still being
Yeah,
in love with the main character into Ten Commandments.
yeah. No,
Oh,
I get.
yeah, an interesting little tidbit about the other connection between Ten Commandments and Samson and Delilah is that the character or the actress playing the character of Miriam, she actually then goes on to play Moses' sister Miriam in Ten Commandments.
That's right. I knew she looked familiar.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Her name is Olive Deary.
yeah, no, she played a great Miriam.
Yeah, yeah. So good that Cecil B. DeMille. I need a Miriam. It's like, I know. I'll call Olive.
Yeah, call her up. Um, outside of like, because like I said, the liberties that were taken in this one were a little bit more not egregious because it's not terrible.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna set that aside and just look at it as a movie itself.
Right.
And if you're looking for like a good romantic, this is your film right here. This is a great one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this has everything. It has romance. It has a revenge story. It has betrayal. Yeah, just everything that you want in a really good story. This movie has. And yeah, even though it's not, doesn't follow the Bible's account, 100%. I think for the sake of telling a good story, I think that's to its benefit as opposed to being detrimental.
Hey, and if you like Tiger King, Samson kills a lion with his bare hand.
There you go. Yeah, and it gets Delilah all moist down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so interesting that like even when like he's able to negotiate his Samadar's hand in marriage. She's still Delilah is still jonesing after Samson, even to the
Yeah.
point where even though like there was this supposed betrayal by Samadar, by revealing the answer to Samson's riddle that he gives to all the Philistine wedding guests. He like she's still able to like whisper into her father's ear, and it's like, oh, well, there's this other guy who wants to, marry her. Why don't you can give it, you can give it to her, give Samadar to him. And it just kind of goes to the prowess of Delilah. And even in the movie, all the characters, even Samson himself was saying like, oh, Delilah learned all her tricks from the devil,
Yeah, she did.
and so. But it's like, and Delilah's a bit of a tragic character because she never really finds love, even when she's with the king of the Philistines. She's not made queen. She's made what was it they called her, consort.
Yeah,
So she
she's
was
the
like,
queen whore.
yeah, she's the queen whore, or queen of the whores, or queen of the king's whores.
Yeah,
That's more accurate.
it's like assistant to the regional manager.
Yeah. um, so yeah, she in her entire life she's not able to find love because of the hatred and the bitterness that she holds on to toward against Samson.
Yeah,
Um, what are your feelings? I don't know. I wanted to ask you what your feelings were about like how her somewhat redemptive moment where she helped Samson at the end. And then she ultimately, because of her great love for Samson, she too decides, um, instead of living without Samson, that they would die together.
I think that part of it was a it was part of it was obviously out of like the love she felt for him,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like she don't want to live without him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other part of it was like she felt guilty that she's essentially responsible
Mm-hmm.
for putting him in that situation. And as far as the movie plot goes, it's a great ending.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, tragic ending. It's a good ending.
Okay, so he had no problems with the ending of the movie.
No, it's like I said. I'm just going straight off of not trying to compare to the biblical account. Oh,
Right.
it's a great
Mm-hmm. Okay. I agree, and it's interesting 'cause I love how the Philistine king, like, how when the temple is like collapsing all around me, and he sees like you know the rubble about to come down on his head. He just was like, "Fuck it," and like just like raises his glass to like Samson. You got yours. He's like, you got yours, and then he like and he dies. I
ending.
mean,
You got me, you bastard.
yeah, I was like, I gotta give him props for like taking his death like a man. Just like he's like, yeah, you got the best of me. You know what I
Yeah, well,
mean?
that part of the movie is actually fairly accurate because everyone in that temple dies
Right.
because Samson was
Right. Yeah, because like they thought that they had won. They finally defeated Samson. But what they didn't realize was that he through
himself at God's mercy.
right he through prayer and repentance, God blessed him again with his strength to fulfill one last act, which is to destroy the temple of Dagon.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's like one other thing about the beautiful, once again, beautiful costume sets. Yeah, they're
Well,
not
I
just
mean,
they're
I agree that I like the intricacy. I don't know if like as much I don't know if as much budget was put into this movie as opposed to Ten Commandments. Uh,
yeah. Well, this is an earlier film too. So he probably didn't have as much to say as
True. Yeah. But what for what they probably had to work with and what was presented on screen, I think yeah, it was fairly well done. Again, we don't know because we don't I don't know how deeply they went into research about like ancient Philistine culture. Um, but yeah, I was still fairly impressed with like the armor design of like the soldiers and the design of like the gowns and things for like the Philistine elite.
Yeah.
It all still worked.
It's, and the other thing is like it's shown here, which also, I think it's a little bit count. It, in the biblical account, it seems like Samson is very flippant towards like his own people in a lot of ways. They can kind of really after his own, you know, lust and pursuit.
Right, his own app. Yeah, in the biblical account, he even though he was a judge, he didn't seem that concerned with like the plight or the problems of his people. He's just it was very in the Bible at least. It was very much looking out for himself and getting his. But in this movie, yeah, they turned they kind of the mill made him they turned him into kind of like a folk hero.
Well, like I said, in the case like the biblical account of Samson, a good character that doesn't necessarily make it, it's all now. If like they were making it today, it's like, oh well, that's this type of figure that's presented in Samson's film. But now it's like, oh, that's not realistic. And so the like if this was made today, the Samson that's presented in the Bible is probably the way they would show. Just kind of a shitty guy.
Yeah,
in the best case scenario, it's like, yeah, he's chosen by God. Kind of a shitty person. But yeah, this film, like he's made into this person that does, yeah, he has his appetite. He's a flawed character, yet at the same time does have convictions, and he's a comic film. That's what makes it a good film.
say that again.
No, I'm saying it's like they made him into a much more complicated figure who has uh, good qualities about it, and it makes it a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm, were there any other scenes or characters you enjoyed? I believe.
Mm, no, that's about that's all I. Yeah, no other scenes or anything
Yeah.
like that.
So ultimately, this is like if you're looking for 100% biblical accuracy, then you're not gonna like. But if you like,
I think you might be the only person that might really seek that.
well, no, here's the thing is I really like this film.
Hmm.
But like if you're looking for like spot on biblical accuracy, and yes, you might not like this film. But if you're just looking for a good story with uh, interesting characters, great dialogue, uh, all that stuff, I think you're gonna love this movie. Yeah, if you're looking for a good romantic drama, this is this is one of the better ones I've seen.
Mm. And I'd agree with you with that.
Uh, should we give her ratings?
Yeah, give our ratings and let's put this one to bed.
All right, I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. Uh, it's not quite the Ten Commandments.
Hmm.
I can't give it the same rating as that.
Hmm.
As I said, it gets a couple points off, or it takes a little too liberal with the count. But It's a good movie, great acting. Like I said, it's probably the best romantic, one of the better ones I've ever seen. I'm definitely gonna rewatch it again. And it's Cecil B. DeMille, he does a really good job.
Yeah, no, solid, solid.
Yeah, solid director. I'm starting to really respect him.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I didn't before, but now that I'm thinking of what
Yeah,
you
just
know,
yeah, just more of an appreciation.
uh, but yeah, I urge everyone go see this. Great.
Right. As for myself, I'm gonna give this a 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna give this a 3. Again, I think similarly to you, I thought this was a great movie. Solid directing, solid acting. Uh, yeah, like you said, not accurate to the biblical account, but it did tell a really good story about love and revenge and redemption and you know fulfilling one's you know duty or purpose. Um, I understand that this is an early movie, but kind of like I kind of realized that that and again I realized this was early in the history of Hollywood and filmmaking, but they're taking a lot of cues from kind of like musical theater, and so sometimes the way that characters would talk or respond it seems very much like a chorus, and especially like when address like when uh, the wedding banquet scene and how like each of the guests had to have like their response, but or said something, but it was always kind of like in a chorus where it's like one person said, and then and then this person follows, and then this, so
Yeah,
that was
you're gonna find a lot of that in like these type of films, just because
exactly.
these type of intermissions, it is kind of theater.
Yeah. I mean, not to dig it too much, but it was getting, I was noticing it far too much for me to not. It didn't terribly affect my enjoyment of this film, but it's just like it was something that I just kept noticing and just kind of like pulled me out of the movie a little bit. Um, but that's not, it's still not to say that it wasn't a good movie. And so yeah, and those are my reasons for giving it a 3. But yeah, I hope you guys give it a chance. And that's our rating. That's our review for Samson and Delilah. Robert gives it a 3.5. I give it a 3. Still recommended to watch this movie. It's a good one, and I think I think you'd be surprised at how much you enjoy it.